from wherever you're watching around the world. This is the news on NTA International, and I am Juma Yusuf. First, the headlines. World Bank and federal government joining forces to ensure Nigeria's agricultural produce are accepted at international markets. Federal government receives grant of $890 million to fight HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria, just as World Health Organization goes traditional on COVID-19 cure. ECOWAS moves to harmonize curricula, certificates and their equivalents within the sub-region. We begin with the presidency as the 17th meeting of the Federal Executive Council, Nigeria's highest policy decision-making body for the year 2020, has ended. President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the virtual meeting anchored from the State House. He was joined by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustapha, Head of Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Esan, Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and 8 ministers. Other members of the Council also participated online from their operational bases across the nation's capital. State House correspondent Adam Musambos reports that before going into a closed-door meeting, members of the council observed a moment of silence in honor of the late elder statesman Ismail Issa Huntua. The deceased was a member of the council under the Shehu Shagari administration, during which he served as Minister of Water Resources. Our reports just reaching us says President Muhammadu Buhari will on Thursday depart for Bamako, Republic of Mali on a one-day visit following the briefing by the ECOWAS Special Envoy to the country, former President Goodluck Jonathan. The Nigerian President and some ECOWAS leaders led by the Chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Sub-Region Organization, President Issoufou Mohamado of Niger Republic, agreed to meet in Mali to engage in further consultations towards finding a political solution to the crisis in the country. Host President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita and President Macky Sall of Senegal, Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana, and Alassane Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire are expected to participate in the Bamako meeting. Former President Jonathan was at the State House in company of President of ECOWAS Commission, Mr. Jean-Claude Cassi-Bra, on Tuesday to brief President Buhari on the unfolding situation in Mali, necessitated the visit of ECOWAS leaders to consolidate on the agreements reached by various parties. A statement by the special advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, said the President thanked Dr. Jonathan for his comprehensive brief on the situation in Mali. The former president had briefed President Buhari on his activities as special envoy to restore peace to Mali, rocked by protest against President Keita, who has spent 2 out of the 5 years second term in office. To the legislature now, the Senate has passed the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act Amendment Bill 2020, which seems to update laws governing all financial institutions and their services. The bill also canvasses the operation of a special tribunal of not more than 10 persons for the enforcement and recovery of eligible loans and speedy resolution of financial-related cases, while sexual offences are to be added to categories of crimes that can result to removal of a bank officer from his position. The Nigerian Railway Corporation Act 2004 repeal and re-enacted Bill 2020 was also passed by the Senate. The bill, among others, seeks to stipulate standards and procedures for the acquisition of land for railway infrastructure and to provide stiffer penalties for misconduct, especially by train drivers who are to pay 500,000 naira for driving under the influence of alcohol. The Senate expects the executive to submit the 2021 budget by September this year, as it has resolved to pass it before end of December this year. 1 career and 39 non-career ambassadors have been confirmed by the legislators as the nominees from Yobe and Niger State were stepped down until some issues are resolved. The House Committee on Works has been engaging stakeholders concerning contracts for 3 major road projects. These are the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Road, and the Second Niger Bridge. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on the latest meeting with Bureau for Public Procurement.
Bureau for Public Procurement is by law mandated to ensure transparency, fair competition among contractors in bidding for contracts and value for money. It is for these reasons that the committee questioned the issuance of certificates of no objection to Ministry of Works to award the 3 major contracts to a single company.
DPP needs to explain to us how and why they adopted the modalities used in issuing certificate of no objections.
Very, very important question that has to do and has consequences on the effect of Nigeria.
The Director General of Bureau for Public Procurement, Maman Ahmadu, says he is unhappy about the performance of the contracting firm.
I know the history. That is why I'm giving you the benefit of it. But if you say whether I'm happy, yes, primary school question, answer. I'm not happy. That is why I kept asking questions.
The committee requested him to furnish it with documents. In another development, House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, while holding discussions with a joint delegation of the United Nations and European Union on gender-based violence, says the House will work on the sexual harassment bill forwarded by the Senate.
The issue of sexual-based violence, or rape, if you want to be more specific, is something that is permeated. It's not isolated to Nigeria. But we're in Nigeria now, want to deal with it in Nigeria. But it's world over. It's a pandemic, and we should deal with it as such.
Gender-based violence is a human rights violation. It's a violation of the rights of women and girls in particular. But we must also remember boys and men can also be exposed to gender-based violence.
From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Now, Nigerians must change their perceptions and the way they take responsibilities in this area of coronavirus by adhering strictly to the preventive measures instituted by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Permanent Secretary General Services Olusegun Adekunle said this when he received donation of protective masks and oxygen concentrators on behalf of the task force in Abuja. The report.
The availability of medical oxygen usually makes the difference between life and death for a majority of patients with COVID-19. In place of liquid oxygen for a single patient through a ventilator, a single concentrator can be used for many patients at the same time. As part of its corporate social responsibility, Web Fontaine donated 50,000 protective masks and 35 hospital-grade 9-liter per minute oxygen concentrator to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
When we started, a lot of focus was on ventilators. We have seen that there has been increasing need for oxygen concentrators.
Play our own part as
Managing Director of the organization said the donation is aimed at supporting and protecting local communities and supplementing the effort of the federal government in containing coronavirus in the country.
You get to a hospital and they tell you the oxygen was finished. Well, in this instance, oxygen can't finish because the oxygen is in the air. And what the machines do is that it just takes the oxygen from the atmosphere, filters out the nitrogen and other gases, and it gives you 96% pure oxygen. So in a ward, say for example, of 6 people may need oxygen, they can be hooked up to just one machine.
Similar donations have been made in more than 10 countries.
Depending on the various situations there. Nigeria is the largest country in Africa, so it's no surprise that the donation to Nigeria will be the biggest.
Web Fontaine is a leading provider of solutions for trade facilitation powered by world-class technology with offices across Europe, Asia, Middle East and Africa.
The federal government has received a grant of $890 million from the Global Fund to fight HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria over an implementation period from 2021 to 2023. Minister of Health Dr. Asagi Ehenere made this known when he said the grant is the largest made to any country in this funding cycle, which demonstrates the Global Fund's confidence in the administration and programs of President Muhammadu Buhari in the health sector. Basi Ita Epang has the result.
Since inception in 2002, has contributed to placing 1.04 million people living with HIV and AIDS on treatment in Nigeria. About 120,000 TB cases are identified and treated annually, in addition to providing 398 Gen Expert machines in 36 states and the FCT for TB services. This has led to a decline in malaria prevalence from 42% to 23%, spanning 2010 to 2018, leading to the treatment of at least 4 million confirmed malaria cases annually.
The implementation of this grant will especially target the poor, the most vulnerable and disadvantaged, and those at higher risk of the target diseases, to promote equity in access to healthcare services.
In addition to the $980 million, the Global Fund also provided a new grant of $21.9 million to support Nigeria's COVID-19 response.
Overall, the Global Fund grants for COVID-19 will support testing for more than 1 million Nigerians over the next 12 months.
Stakeholders in the health sector and development partners promise to work together in curtailing the prevalence of the diseases by 2030. Global Fund is a global partnership of government, civil society, and private donors established by the United Nations in 2002 for funding public health interventions for the eradication of HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria in countries of prevalence. Basi Taikbang, NTA News.
And for the latest on COVID-19, the World Health Organization and the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention has inaugurated a COVID-19 Traditional Remedy Committee, and Brazilian president tests positive for COVID-19 for the third time. Joyce Ometu gives us a global update on the pandemic.
U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that the COVID-19 pandemic is going to get worse before it gets better, and has instructed Americans to wear face masks to stop the spread. Still in the U.S., 13 nuns at a Roman Catholic convent have died of coronavirus since the country's outbreak. Reports say the deaths may be the worst loss of life to a community of religious women since the 1918 influenza pandemic. Meanwhile, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has had another positive result for COVID-19 in the third test he has taken since falling ill on July 7. A Secretariat of Communications Ministry in a statement said President Bolsonaro is still in good condition. In the meantime, the World Health Organization and the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are collaborating to enhance research and development of traditional medicines for COVID-19 in Africa. The Regional Experts Committee on Traditional Medicine for COVID-19 will support countries in collaborative efforts to conduct clinical trials of traditional medicines in compliance with international standards. Shifting attention to Madagascar, the country's health ministry has sent out an urgent request for help to partner agencies and health institutions as COVID-19 cases increase. There have been reports that public hospitals in Madagascar are at full capacity and will only admit severe cases of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the world has surpassed 15 million cases of coronavirus. Record by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. local time indicates that there are now 15,189,920 cases, with 621,986 mortalities. Out of these numbers, Africa accounts for 755,894 cases, 15,811 deaths. Nigeria has registered 37,801 cases, 15,677 discharged, and 805 fatalities recorded. And that's a global update on COVID-19. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thank you, Joyce. More reports when we return. Don't go away.
The Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, FNCS, FBCS, FIIM, cordially invites all stakeholders to the virtual commissioning of the following completed projects under the digital economy sector located across the country. Tertiary Institution Knowledge Center, Enugu. The Nigeria Communications Satellite Northwest Regional Office, Kaduna. IT Community Center, Katsina. IT Hub, Kaduna. Information Technology Development Hub, Lagos. Emergency Communications Center, Kaduna. Date, Thursday, 23rd July 2020. Time, 11 a.m. The projects are part of developing digital economy for a digital Nigeria. Announcer, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy.
With the lockdown due to COVID-19, the rising incidences of sexual and gender-based violence is alarming. Currently, NAPTIP receives reports on cases of spousal battery and abuse, incest, rape, defilement of minors, sodomy, among others. Sexual and gender-based violence destroys lives. If you are a victim, break the culture of silence. Report to NAPTIP for immediate action. If you are not a victim, but know one, save a life by reporting, and all reports will be treated in confidence.
Report sexual and gender-based violence cases to these hotlines: 0803-220-3462, 0818-384-6635. Sexual Offenders Register Hotline, 0703-000203. Social media platforms and iReport app. This message is brought to you by NAPTIP with support from the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Program, ROLAC, with funding by the European Union.
Thanks for your company. Now, Nigeria is among the world's largest producers of cash crops such as cashew, cocoa, ginger, and shea nuts. The country, however, is lagging behind in the global business of the commodities. This is equal to poor handling, management, market strategy, and storage, among other challenges. Now, the World Bank and the federal government are now joining forces to ensure that government Nigeria agricultural produce are accepted by the international markets. Musa Baba Aliu has details.
Export of agricultural produce have been recording steady growth since 2016 due to the federal government economy diversification policy. Recently, National Bureau of Statistics reported that agricultural commodities worth 152 billion naira were shipped out of the country for foreign earnings. However, agriculture economists alongside commodity market specialists are of the view that Nigeria could earn more if farmers and marketers will abide by the international standards of commodity trade. To this end, the World Bank and Federal Government Intervention Program, codenamed Appeals, is out to address and improve production of cash crops, vegetables, livestock and poultry in 6 states.
Appeals project in Kogi State, supporting both farmers that are into production, we're supporting those that are into processing, and we're supporting those that are into marketing.
We're supporting quite a number of farmers in new technologies. We have the nipple-fitted drinkers and pelletized feed for our poultry farmers.
This meeting taking place here in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, is examining the strategy being adopted and progress since inception.
The project has also documented a total of 55 business alliances.
And that is why some of the technologies we demonstrated to farmers, we supported them with improved rice variety, adequate NPK, urea, agricultural agrochemicals.
The agro-processing productivity enhancement and livelihood improvement support project is targeting 60,000 individuals as direct beneficiaries, 10,000 beneficiaries per state, and 300,000 farmhold members as direct beneficiaries. Port Harcourt, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Thank you, Musa. And to talk more via Skype is the National Project Coordinator, Appeals Project, Mohammed Sani Jobdi. You're welcome to the news on NTA International.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, as Nigeria tries to reclaim its position in the production of all these commodities, what is the Appeals Project all about?
Yeah, thank you. Appeals Project, as the name connotes, is agro-processing, productivity enhancement, and livelihood improvement support project of the federal government in collaboration with the World Bank and other stakeholders.
So how
it is a project. It is a project also that is in line with the agricultural promotion policy, the 2016 to 2020 policy designed by the federal government, which is also built on the legacy of the agricultural transformation agenda. The project objective is to enhance agricultural productivity of small and medium and small scale farmers, and to enhance value addition along the priority value chains in the participating states.
Okay, as you talk about enhancing, how do you think this project will add to the national food basket as well as contribute in export earnings for these farmers?
Yes, the project is designed to support the policy thrust of the federal government through food security, livelihood improvement, and for export potential.
So are you going to, in a way, cut away the middleman from the business itself?
Not really. The project is so designed, like if you look at the component 1 of the project, which is production and productivity, that component essentially has to do with how do we now support farmers through use of improved technologies that will now increase their productivity. And also, within that component, we have what we call the formation of business alliances, whereby other key stakeholders like the off-takers, the outgrowers, and other stakeholders along the value chains would, interface with one another to enable these farmers have a kind of increase in the supply of food production on a sustainable basis that would now add to the food basket of the government.
So you're talking about beneficiaries. Can we have like a number of these beneficiaries and how many states in the project will be implemented?
The number of beneficiaries being targeted in this project is 60,000. That is 10,000 per each of the beneficiary states, and 300,000 farm household members will be the indirect beneficiaries. Whereby also it's very interesting because the project took cognizance of the the participation of women in agriculture. So 35% is also set aside for women. Also, another interesting aspect of the project is because of its inclusiveness, 5% is also targeted towards persons with disability and special needs. The participating states include Cross River, Enugu State, Kaduna, Kano State, Kogi, and Lagos State for now.
Okay, before we go, which of these agricultural value chains are being supported by these appeal products all about?
Yes, like earlier mentioned, because the project is in line with the agricultural promotion policy of the federal government, the priority value chains that are being considered is also in line with the APP. And these value chains comprise rice, maize, wheat, cassava, cocoa, cashew, tomato, ginger, poultry, dairy, and aquaculture.
Okay, thank you so much, Mohammed Sani Jobdi, for your input on NTA International News. And the good news is, people living with disability and women are supported in this project. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, 10 states have been selected to kickstart the first phase of implementation of the Partnership for Expanded Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, PWASH, a component of the National Action Plan to turn around the wash sector. Musbat and Wahab reports.
The yearning increases, so too is the deficit of access to safe water and improved sanitation. Facilities are breaking down with no adequate replacements.
A lot of places where you see abandoned boreholes, they must have been built by the federal government. And some states had actually abdicated the entire responsibility of providing, especially rural water supply, to the federal government.
One of the mechanisms for that change is the Partnership for Expanded Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, PWASH, launched in 2016 by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo to address water and sanitation challenges at the grassroots. 3 years on, the pilot project has been completed with more than 700 water supply schemes carried out in Kano and Ogun State between 2018 and 2019.
Any local government we take, we want to be sure that they don't lack access to water. So those 4 local governments covered in Ogun State, and as well as the 4 we covered in Kano State, now are enjoying potable water supply.
With the exception of Adamawa, Borno, Rivers, and the FCT, all other states of the Federation have signed up to the PWASH protocol, while 10 states that have met the criteria have been selected for the first phase of the program.
Pilot phase, there was not a sanitation component, but in this first phase now, it's going to go pari passu. That means as we are providing access to water supply, we are also increasing access to sanitation facilities, especially in the public areas.
So PWASH is meant to incentivize the states, number one, for them to prioritize water and sanitation, to take it as top priority. And when they take it as top priority, it means they will invest more money so that they plan adequately for the people and work towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals target.
We have that very high level political commitment and willingness at the national level. However, do we have a commensurate level of political will at the state level? This is where we have the challenge.
Several national and international targets on water and sanitation are fast approaching, and Nigeria's government says it is throwing everything at it to meet the targets and ultimately the yearnings of the citizenry. In Abuja, Musbal, then Wahab, NTA News.
Conversations are ongoing to actualize harmonized curricular certificates and their equivalent within the ECO sub-region. Nigerian Fine Face reports that these and the opportunities in leveraging science for regional development topped the agenda on the day's meeting of committees at the extraordinary session.
Propelled by the ideals of regional integration, members of parliament are expectant that individual member states of ECOWAS will cooperate to derive optimal benefits from education resources in the region. To achieve this, the ECOWAS Commission is initiating a broad-based harmonization of education that will allow for the recognition of certificates acquired in a member state by other member states.
Multilateral recognition of certificates from member states is for the purpose of comparability of standards that issues of harmonization came up along the line. Because there were situations where member states refused to accept certificates from other countries based on certain internal conditions.
Members of Parliament considered the viability of this proposal in a meeting of Joint Committee on Education, Science and Culture and that of Telecommunications and Information Technology in the ongoing second extraordinary session. The Joint Committee also deliberated on the imperatives of leveraging science and technology to improve agriculture, medicine, security, immigration, environment, and other sectors deemed strategic to the development of the ECOWAS sub-region. In Abuja, Onengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
Before we go, remember to connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. That's the news for now. Jumo Yusuf.